Good morning. I'm seeing people sleepy probably after 2 days of how many, can anyone talk about how many steps they have done in last 2 days? Anyone? Anyone breaking the record? Anyone about 20,000 steps? Oh, Ajay, wow. बस आप तो जिम जाते रहते हो ये तो एक्स्ट्रा हो गया. No one else. Can't even see anyone. I think they just want to listen to you, sir. So it's my pleasure that we are talking with Sri Ajay Kumar Choudhary ji, who besides handling many departments at the RBI as a ED, also handles something which is very, very relevant to our conference, which is FinTech department, and so close to us. And as we've seen, that RBI has always put the right setup every time, whether it was when the payments were emerging, the DPSS, and now as they identified that the FinTech sector was growing so fast, they were very clearly had identified that we need a dedicated focus and a person to spearhead, and we have amazing leader there in Ajay sir. So all the changes that you're seeing and all the progress that you're seeing is happening right under his guidance. We welcome you, Ajay sir. Thank you for taking so much of time, and I also apologize for the delay, sir. Uh, Usually RBI follows time, we know, minute to minute, and we still aspire to match that kind of efficiency and quality. I'm sure we'll improve on it. Sir, I will start right away with the question. Uh, we all know that India is the largest, third largest ecosystem, and probably gearing to be second soon in a couple of years, and eventually number one in the world, as our country is progressing. Now, this entire growth that has happened in the country, what do you think are the drivers that have done that? And is it innovation alone? Are there other drivers? Also, this kind of a growth that has happened, do you think it is sustainable, or what are your views that what is it that we'll all as an ecosystem have to do to sustain it? Sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Naren. Good morning to everyone. At the very outset, let me compliment the organizers of this fourth edition of GFF for organizing this wonderful event. And I wish them at the very beginning the great success. Next 5 years, I would like to see this GFF of India is the best in the world, both from the participants' perspective as well as from the delivery perspective. Now coming to the question. FinTech sector, if you look at globally, what the governor had mentioned yesterday, that global revenue from the FinTech sector at this point of time is around 245 billion. And it is USD, I mean, and it is projected for 2030 as 1.5 trillion billion. Indian FinTech sector, the revenue likely to be generated by 2030 as per the projection is around 200 to 50 billion USD. So obviously it signifies the significance and importance of the FinTech sector in the entire financial sector ecosystem. The question is what value it brings. Looking at it, possibly FinTech when we talk about, because it's a finance and technology, and obviously it depends on the technological innovation to bring innovation, to bring efficiency in the delivery. Please note, it's a delivery of financial product and services. Possibly there may not be any new product per se, there may not be any new services per se, but delivery definitely has become more efficient, it has become more cost effective, it has become possibly more inclusive, and also customer experience has gone up significantly. Now, looking at the enablers, what it enables. Obviously, FinTech ecosystem, when you look at, it is driven by the very bright mind in general. So means leadership generally of all the FinTech entities are the bright minds, very sharp people, backed by very robust technological support. So it's a bright mind is there, tech support is there. Possible thrust, what is needed, is for becoming sustainable. is putting right thrust on the customer centricity and the governance aspect. I'll again repeat, the thrust should be there on the customer centricity and governance aspect. People, it is often said, and I often repeat it, that in any sphere, the sustainability can be achieved by balancing act, balancing between need of tomorrow with wants of today. So this is the balancing we need to achieve. And this balancing can be achieved by putting right thrust on the right issues. And those issues, what I mentioned just is a customer centricity and governance. Possibly, people should be aware what are the important for sustainability of the ecosystem, what are the risks they pose to the system, and how they need to be mitigated, and how entire ecosystem can be benefited. Thank you.
Thank you very well said. I think very aptly said that wants of future and needs of today, how do you balance, and sustainability is very critical. So while amazing things have happened and people sitting probably on the floor are doing a lot of interesting stuff, and many times we think that people sitting here as an entrepreneur are the only innovators, but you might be surprised, or they are the only ones who are doing as a startup. If you look at a project like CBDC, which is again spearheaded from a fintech department, RBI has in a very short time, while I think they took time to really first analyze, study, research, and then they got into it, they very quickly announced 2 pilot projects already live. Hackathon is already running to add more to it. There are multiple things that have happened. And I think sometimes we forget that here, even RBI is doing the biggest game-changing innovation, and they are acting as a startup themselves. We take it for granted that they are regulator. It's very easy. It's not. I mean, it's equally challenging, and they're doing it. So, sir, how does it feel to be in a midst of, this is a large institution, multiple responsibility, but also bringing this innovation directly from a central bank, multiple challenges, and still delivering it, and you face, I believe, all the challenges of a startup?
No, it's an interesting question. To start with, if you look at the central bankers and regulators across the globe, generally they are characterized by caution and conservatism. That is the general character, and that is required so to manage the economy and financial system in a very balanced manner. That is the way possibly one has to look at it. But how to meet the agility of the fintech? That is a challenge. It's being grappled with by most of the central bankers across the globe. In India also, this was recognized, and that's why our governor has announced creation of one specific department, what we call fintech department, to deal with the issues, challenges relating to the fintech sector. Idea is this, that fine, the whatever ecosystem, central banking regulatory ecosystem, that will remain intact, but we create separate framework which handles this in a more agile and constructive manner. So that's why the creation of fintech department. Now coming to your question of the CBDC. You must have heard and possibly must be knowing also, but CBDC is a digital form of Indian currency, that is rupee. It is a legal tender. It has all the characteristics of currency, that what we can say is a trust, immediate settlement finality. All those features what currency can have by way of store of value, means of payment, or unit of account, all these digital currency carry. In addition, possibly it also carries the advantages of being digital. Means, I am talking about in the context of the private currencies, generally what we know as a crypto or a stable coins, etc., and etc. The narrative what is built in, what they can offer, the other currency cannot offer. But the risk what they bring in is significant to the individuals, what we have witnessed, to the investors, and to the sovereign and the policy makers. So therefore, CBDC is a wonderful opportunity and is a great motivation for most of the central bankers, including RBI, actually to bring it as an alternative, as an option for the customer, the people, common people to use it as per their choice and convenience. Now, generally, I hear that people try to compare it vis-a-vis the payment system, the DPSS, UPI. Now, I told this is a currency and UPI is a payment system. Now, this currency has the three features: store of value, payment, and the unit of account. The payment side, it is as efficient or as good as UPI can be. It is no better. I can tell you very clearly, it is no better. But it can have multiple use cases by way of store of value, right? What basically we are motivated to, like for the wholesale CBDC, if you look at, there can be settlement finality because it's a central bank currency, it's not a commercial bank money. And when we look at settlement guarantee requirement, that can be removed. Cross-border transactions, this will be a great enabler in coming days because you are aware that at this point of time, correspondent banking system, multiple banks are involved for making this type of transaction to happen. It involves a lot of cost to be there. As per the World Bank estimates, the cost is around 6% for the retail transactions for this type of overseas remittances, etc. Again, for the big and the large value remittances, only 3 or 4 banks globally, they operate. So again, these things are not good for any system. And that's why we need certain systems which can counter the narrative of the crypto and stable coins, can have no risk like them, at the same time can provide the features of all those things what digital currency can provide. So that's why CBDC is very, very critical.
Thank you very much, sir. So I can probably, all the factors that you mentioned about CBDC, the term currency on its steroid is what probably fit in. And let me come on another innovation, same way, which is, again, very novel thought. There has been a concept that RBI gave probably first time in the world from any other central banker, at least I haven't heard before, which is about public tech platform, which was announced, that why we need to build it, what exactly we will do, and exactly on the same, by the time that is developed, the first product is already rolled out, which is frictionless credit. And I think there's a lot less that is known, and it has again happened from your department. It's mind-boggling and game-changing. I think audience would love to know a lot more. There was also a question in the governor's session. Probably you could share a lot more details. And what else to come beyond frictionless credit on this infra?
No, actually, I'll be open to all questions actually subsequent to interaction with you. But one thing is very clear, Governor has mentioned it very clearly, that this is going to be revolutionary. This will be another UPI moment for the credit. That is very clear. This is going to exist, continue to be there. And in next 1 year or 1.5 years, it will change the landscape of lending, how it is, the things are being lent. So that is very clear. Now, when we are talking about frictionless, what we mean by frictionless, I'll tell you the story how it happened. It started with some survey in the state of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu to understand what type of frictions can be in small ticket loans to the farmers. There basically what we realized based on the survey, that cost incurred by the farmers, operational cost, etc., generally goes around 5 to 6% for getting loan of rupees 1 lakh. Then turnaround time was varying from 2 weeks to 6 weeks for getting loan of rupees 1 lakh. Opportunity costs were there for farmers because minimum 6 to 8 times he had to visit bank branches. We sat on this, by the way, our innovation hub, actually Reserve Bank Innovation Hub, they are our partner to this, is our subsidiary. We together sat and looked at this, okay, what can we do to resolve this issue? Then we started pilot, what governor had announced last GFF in September, that why can't we have bilateral integration, because for Kisan credit card is a small ticket loan for agriculture, uh, we require the land records apart from the data on the the KYC, information company, credit information company, satellite data, etc. and etc. The most critical piece were the land record from the state government, and definitely state governments were not very open to share this data to the banks, number one. Possibly they didn't have the tech appetite also to how to reach that. So we started this exercise in Tamil Nadu and Madhya Pradesh to start with. We enabled them, requested them, and basically they agreed to connect through the API, application program interface, through to our pilot banks who are running the pilot for this. And we realized it's a transformational journey, I'm telling you, because it was a assisted mode. People are going with tablet to the farmers in their field, and less than, if I can say her, less than 10 minutes, loans were disbursed from end to end. I am talking about looking at the KYC, looking at the score, verifying the land records, then seeing the satellite data, then going through the engine, rule engine. And after that, if terms and they decide it can be sanctioned or not, if it can be sanctioned, that it goes back to the borrower, whether they agree to terms and condition, e-signature is obtained, and once it is done, the amount is sanctioned and disbursed. So this is the metamorphical change what we witnessed. We extended this to another few states like Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka. We also extended it to the other use case of dairy farmers by taking the milk pouring data in Gujarat. And we found it very success. But only challenge was that information which were residing in the multiple places in disjointed manner, if multiple lenders want to connect to them, it requires the bespoke integration with each of the information provider for each of the lenders. And that makes the life very complex, both for the lenders as well as for the information providers. So those were the challenges. Looking at that, then again we sat, our fintech department conceptualized it, we discussed with our innovation hub, and then accordingly created a tech platform. And this tech platform is like a middleware, what we call as public tech platform. And lender is one side, and other side is all types of information providers. Now, lenders can connect to us one-to-one integration through API on plug-and-play model. Whatever information they require to complete the journey of any lending, basically they obtain it through this platform. Platform in turn is connected to the all information provider, and they also, information provider also not connected to all lenders, but they are simply connected to one-to-one integration with this platform. So this makes the entire life and whole customer journey very simple. Wow. It is happening in few minutes, turnaround time, cost basically, operational cost for the lenders to connect and get the information has come down by more than 70%. Wow. And for farmers, the cost what they used to incur by way of 6%, etc., apart from opportunity cost, that has gone. So this integration, this type of platform, what has been created, has been, as per the governor's announcement on the monetary policy of August. We started in the month of August, 17th. And we believe, and this platform at this point of time is enabled for MSME loan, personal loan, housing loan, wow. KCC, Kisan Credit Card, dairy loan on pilot basis. And we believe that it can be extended to all types of loans, or it will connect all types of information provider in coming days. It is transformational, I believe.
Amazing. So. Amazing, sir. In fact, one complaint we always had that the credit to GDP ratio compared to China, we were falling way behind, and there's a huge need. I think this would surely solve it, and the way we solve the payments, now the next is credit. So we're all looking forward to it. Sir, one very interesting part has always come, and one of the key reasons that the department was set up and you spent a lot of time on this subject, that there was always a debate. do you really need more laws to regulate fintechs? If you need, what kind of approach you should have? And there's never a innovation and regulation is always a very tough ask to balance. And then customer centricity and a protection. What are your views, sir? Because that's, again, something which you're handling personally, and then there's a lot of tough work, because globally there's no clear regulation on fintech, anywhere in the world. There's no clear benchmarks. There's no clear success story. And that's, again, a new uncharted territory that you're navigating. Any views on that, sir?
It is always said that extremes is very easy. Arriving at balance is most difficult. And this arriving at balance is a critical. What I talked about earlier about the fintechs, they have to arrive at a balance for the needs of today with the wants of tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Needs of tomorrow with the wants of today. Another thing actually is a challenge and balance for the regulator. Actually, how to balance to foster the innovation without compromising the policy objectives. And when I am talking about policy objectives, I mean the market integrity, I mean conduct, both market and the business conduct, I mean stability, financial stability, I mean cybersecurity, data privacy, etc. and etc. It includes the model governance also risk related to that. Now, whether regulation is needed or not, that is the first question for the fintech. Possibly when we are looking at this passionately, by the way, we had formed a group, working group in Reserve Bank of India, which is working on this. Most likely in few days and a few months, possibly the report will come out for your feedback. That we looked at it in detail and deliberated. And we realized that regulation possibly is needed. It may be proportionate, it may be gradual, but it's required. Because it provides the certainty in the mind, number one, in the minds of the fintech. Number two, it creates the enabling environment for doing the experimentation, for thinking in a creative manner, like regulatory sandbox, like hackathon, what we are carrying out. All these are the enablers, basically. So those things basically are critical, actually, for ensuring that fintech ecosystem grow. The critical requirement for any regulation should be that it should be gradual and proportionate. That is the first thing. And proportionate, I mean risk-based, proportionately. Possibly there should be legal certainty in the mind of a regulator also. Okay, the regulator can regulate the fintech entity. Number two, can have clear oversight on them, right? Regulatory approach, what you asked just now. Again, there will be multiple approaches are there. It can be entity-based, it can be activity-based, it can be hybrid. Possibly entity-based means you have to give the licenses, you have to come out with the guidelines on liquidity, capital, etc., etc. Those things might not be needed to begin with. These are small entities, right? So possibly we have to look at the activity-based. In case if any entity assumes the significance of systemic important, then we can move to entity-based regulation for those entity only. As far as how it should be communicated, these regulations, again, different approaches are there. It can be rule-based, it can be principle-based, it can be outcome-based. Obviously, we need to migrate with the maturity of the regulatory system and the financial system. We have to move from rule to principle to the outcome. So at this point of journey of the financial system movement, we are possibly at the middle one, and principle-based is the right way to look at it, to communicate. In addition, it needs to be supported by some sort of a supervisory framework to identify the outlier early, right, and take corrective action early. Again, you are aware that big tech entities, they pose some specific issues and concerns, specifically relating to risk, relating to concentration, relating to their contagion risk, risk because of their business model and their appetite to expand, that all those risks need to be handled separately. So possibly we need a separate framework for that. I think
no, of
I
course.
answer you.
In fact, sir, what India is going to do with the growth and success stories that we have, the whole world will watch whatever regulatory framework we create. And this is again a huge game-changing opportunity to influence the whole world into what we do. So I think the whole industry is with you, sir, and we'll follow your clue on this. One interesting point, or rather one very important point, which has been emphasized a lot more in public now, though it has been under discussion over the last 12 years since the first advent of digital payment companies and everyone, is self-regulation. There has been voluntary self-regulation by association, but without teeth. So it is getting formalized as the ecosystem is growing. And I know that all of us, including DG sir, including Governor sir, has again further re-emphasized that if the ecosystem is growing, we need to do a lot more to make sure that the environment is healthy. One thing, however, I have been kind of on the other side realizing that while we're all working with you and we'll make sure next year we do something about it, the word self sometimes seems to denote that whatever you do as an individual entity is good enough and it's a voluntary. You don't necessarily need to do anything in the group or be part of the group. Would you like to clarify some bit more details around the self-regulatory approach that the industry should take?
I think Governor has already mentioned that we need it, this structure in next 1 year. Yes, I'll just give the background of this. Regulations may come or may not come. It may be proportionate, it may be gradual, it's fine. But the best recipe for any system to grow and grow in a sustainable manner is the governance standard, the self-governance standard. That is something critical. And this type of self-governance standard can be prescribed and can be used and can be implemented very well through the self-regulatory organizations, what we call SROs. So they are very, very critical. And possibly they can play a very complementary role actually with the regulatory framework what we are envisaging. Now, what type of role they can play? They can provide good oversight over the fintech ecosystem what they are working with, that is number one, to the supervisors and regulator. They can prescribe standards for their peers, basically all the fintech system, that what type of governance standards should be, what type of customer centricity approach should be, what type of customer grievance redressal mechanism should be, what type of cybersecurity standards should be, what type of data privacy requirements should be, where the data should be stored, what type of model, if you are developing, what should be governance standard for that. All those things can be mentioned and prescribed by these SROs. And that can be the front, actually, for the regulator. They can be a partner to the regulator and accordingly can manage this ecosystem. I believe together, regulator as well as this SRO mechanism can do wonderfully well and take this fintech ecosystem further ahead.
Thank you very much, sir. So I can only use this platform and assure you, sir, that from PCI and FCC, both sides, which covers the entire fintech industry, we will surely work and we will have a good news in next year in the GFF that we would have the SRO framework and launched and ready for launch. And we will make sure that, like you said, all the entities directly or indirectly regulated will be part of it. Sir, so one interesting thing, which I think no regulator has done before, and thanks to you, you agreed to do, which is a rapid fire. This is something no regulator has done. It has been always other way around, probably, sir. That regulator asks us the question. We have to.
Difficult thing, but yeah, okay.
But I must really thank you for allowing us to do this.
I hope it's a not difficult question.
Sir, regulators handle even difficult situations. So let me try my best. So, sir, first question. Fintechs will play a critical role in growth of Indian economy, yes or no?
Yes, very much.
Yeah. If one has to choose between customer protection, customer centricity, or growth, what would it be, sir?
Basically, for sustainable growth, I told that customer centricity is critical. Yeah. So you cannot avoid that.
Fintechs or bank?
Both in a complementary role. Front ending and back ending is a fintech, middleware, middle level, the bank, traditional system.
Thank you. CBDC or UPI?
Both. I told CBDC is a currency, UPI is a payment. Yeah. Right. So both ways going to complement, both are going to continue.
Yeah. Inclusion or innovation?
Innovation can further the inclusion, in my opinion. So that is the way actually fintech is doing.
Governance or growth?
Again, I mentioned that customer centricity and governance are critical for sustainable growth, governance.
Thank you, sir. Profitability or growth?
Uh, Both the things are complementing each other, but behind that, again, I'll re-emphasize again, the good governance standard is critical.
Yes, sir. Competition versus collaboration.
Good competition, healthy competition is definitely unavoidable, and they are good. But we are looking at some collaborative approach between the traditional financial system and the new entities which are coming out as a fintech entities.
Regulation versus self-regulation.
Both, I told you, they have to act as a partner, and SRO should be the front to begin with, unless until some entity assumes the systemic significance. Otherwise, it should be SRO in front and some light regulation from behind.
Yeah. And the last one, private tokens, physical currency or CBDC.
Our stand is well known, and it's a CBDC.
Thank you, sir. I think you kind of, I don't have any special hamper for this. I'm not the, but sir, I think one last very quick closing remarks from you, and then maybe we'll just take one question. I think we're already running out of time, and we also have a close separate session after this for us. So anything that you want to kind of leave behind for this forum here, key messaging for the fintechs as a closing remark, sir.
No, actually, whatever we have discussed in last half an hour, possibly message was very clear. There are two things that for any sustainable growth, we need to have the balance. Balance is required in all aspects of life, right? So that balance is basically need of tomorrow with the wants of today. And that balancing is needed, that is the most important. And that balancing can be achieved by way of more thrust on the customer centricity, more thrust on the governance, as well as possibly understanding the policy priorities of the regulator, the policy objectives of regulator by way of market integrity, by way of stability, by way of conduct, both market and business. They are the critical piece. That should not be compromised under any innovation. And that cannot be accepted in the financial system.
Thank you very much. So, like I said, I wanted to have a lot more time for questions, but just one question from any lady person. Sorry, sir? Okay, maybe just two right here. So just state your name, organization, and the question.
Hi, thank you. I'm glad you said lady. I'm Preeti Singh. I'm from Bloomberg News. Sir, can I just ask?
Like Governor, I'll say after this non-media, because you always interact. So we'll take this one, but please go.
Okay, just wanted to check, when do you plan to sort of do pilots for retail? So there's a lot happening otherwise on CBDC.
Sorry, you're telling when pilot is already on from 1st December. This CBDC pilot you're asking, right?
Yes, for retail. We're doing it.
Yeah, CBDC pilot retail. Already we have comments from the 1st December 2022. The wholesale has started on 1st November 2022. The retail is going on. We have this persons, around 1.5 million individuals are part of that closed user group, which are part of the retail pilot, and around 0.3 million merchants are there actually as a part of the closed user group, as a part of retail pilot of CBDC. In addition, we have created this complete interoperability with the UPI QR. Actually, now you can, even if you have the CBDC wallet, you can go to any shop. Even if they don't have the wallet of CBDC, if they have UPI QR code, you can transact. By the way, we have given the mandate and requirement of, and hoping for to achieve the transaction of 1 million transactions per day by 31st December. That is our target.
Thank you.
One from here, the center, anyone? Very quickly, center side. No one? Anyone else? Just one last question. I think the message seems to be clear, and I think you also have a very tight schedule today because we got delayed. So thank you very much, sir. I think I couldn't have a better conversation than this with any other regulator. Thanks a lot for this time and this openness, sir. Thank you very much.
Once again to organizers, thanks to organization for organizing this wonderful event, and thanks to all of you for patient hearing. Thank you.